Hello there everybody, this is Alex from Hardcoring Guides, being my guide for Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge on Mastered Ninja difficulty, and today we are doing Day 1. There are 7 days in total, and some of the days are going to be split into basically 2 acts, so I might just call it Day 1, 2, blank, or whatever, and then after that I'll say Part 2, so that hopefully will make some sense later down the line, hopefully, in terms of this game. So, starting off, we're going to go ahead and do a Falcon Dive on the first enemy and get our nice, easy OT kill, pretty much. And for those that are, going to be wondering about, how to explain the name of certain attacks, such as UT and OT, like right now I'm doing a UT, that will be possibly explained more in the description below, but to kind of just paraphrase it here real quick, UT basically stands for Ultimate Technique. It's whenever you charge the triangle button and then you release it. And Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge has the ability to at least charge your UT while holding down triangle or Y or whatever your respective button is. Depending on the level of your weapon, you can hold it down for a certain amount of time. So, for instance, we only have like a level 1 UT, which is pretty much good right now. And for the beginning part of this game, for these beginning, soldiers, these are just basic soldiers pretty much, and then, eventually they're going to spawn dogs. For these, first spawning soldiers, we're just going to basically be running away and doing a lot of UTs. And as you can see, I'm pretty much just running away behind these sandbags to kind of just get some distance between me and the dogs. That way I can just, charge up a UT and let it go whenever they get near me. Second name that I can give is, of course, an OT. OT stands for Obliteration Technique. It's whenever an enemy has lost a limb and you go and press triangle or, again, your respective button prompt. And then whenever you press that button on them, they will end up, giving away, like right now, an OT chance. And also, dogs in Master Ninja mode, and I believe also maybe Ultimate Ninja, I haven't played it too much, but Master Ninja mode allows them to be killed almost instantly by UT. So if you want to use a UT on a dog, that's definitely a perfect opportunity to do it. Now, in terms of combos that I'm doing, I think at base level, there's not a lot of combos I can do. So I'm pretty much just doing like square, I think I'm doing like square, triangle. I think that might be a move. But if you guys can kind of figure out what moves I'm doing, then that's definitely something I would go for. I'd say use a lot of triangle moves because they do allow you to kind of just basically use a lot of triangle inside of your moves to get to the point where you can end up doing a Steel On Bone attack or an SOB, if you want to call it that. Something else that's fun about dogs that you can do is you can do square triangle into the non-Izuna drop, as I'm going to call it. This is essentially an attack that, we don't have the ability to do Izuna drop just yet. I think we have to level ourselves up to get to that point. But the non-Izuna drop basically allows us to do a square triangle and then square in midair or triangle, but it won't do an Izuna attack, so we have to essentially do like some type of, it's not guillotine, but it's just like a slam attack, and that is great against dogs. It almost nearly kills them almost instantly every time. Well, I say instantly, but it's a full combo that usually tends to kill them. The guys with the batons, those are called heavy soldiers, so we're going to call them that. The trick with heavy soldiers is they usually take about 1 to maybe 2 UTs to kill them, so that's something you can also try to keep in mind is whenever you want to do a UT on an enemy, you can just, get as far away as you can, let them chase you down, and then eventually they'll have to, pretty much drop everything they're doing and try to chase you down, and sometimes get stuck on objects to give you plenty of more time to do UTs. That's going to be a running theme with my gameplay is I'm going to be ending up doing a lot of running away and doing UTs instead of just going in for full-on combat, because in Master Ninja mode, a lot of the combat is relatively dangerous. These rocket enemies here, these 2 are going to spawn first. Go straight for them. Don't worry about the other regular soldiers first. And also, we do have to upgrade to counterattack, so that's not going to happen just yet. Something that's different from Razor's Edge versus Ninja Gaiden 3 Vanilla is, in Vanilla, you can actually do a slide dash into an enemy and knock them in the air and then do a Steel On Bone attack, which, of course, Steel On Bone is basically whenever the enemy's body glows red, you can, what I usually do is I just do, I hold L1 and I do evade, which is, of course, hit the stick in a direction, and then I go for a triangle attack. I usually kind of like, I typically try to manipulate the game to make them do it, and the way to sometimes make the enemies get manipulated into doing it is, funny enough, either just kind of like not attacking them as much or not being too aggressive, because sometimes we'll just go for that Steel On Bone. When you see that red, that's definitely something you want to go for. It also gives you health back too. That's something else to keep in mind whenever you're doing Steel On Bone attacks, is you definitely want to go for those Steel On Bones as much as you possibly can. But again, if you want to influence a fight a little bit more, the trick to doing that is typically just kind of like run away a little bit and wait for them to kind of like go for a red, a red unblockable attack. I'll just call it red attack. And then these guys, yeah, these guys spawn. So I'd pretty much just clear out the rest of the other assholes and just use an impo to get my health back, essentially. And for these guys, they're pretty much, just treat them like the same, in the same way of like the heavies. They're a lot more aggressive and a lot more irritating. I think these ones are called assassins. And with the guys that have like the dual daggers, the assassin characters, the thing with them is, again, they're a lot more aggressive and their Steel on Bone is a lot more harder to hit. Which is why you kind of want to preemptively go for a dash triangle right before they activate their, their right attack. That's the fun thing about this game, though, is like sometimes you have to just pretty much just predict when an enemy is going to do a right attack. And real quick, after that, go ahead and start charging your UT after you slide underneath the truck so you can get this, free, easy, potentially 3 to 4, maybe the entire group just killed. Because the first level 1 UT allows you to do 2 combos with it. And after you kill them off, make sure you run all the way back over here and kill off that rocket guy. Because rocket guys are, they should be priority number 1 most of the time. If not all the time, because they're very dangerous. And sorry that I'm going through this so damn fast. Ninja Gaiden 3 is so fast in terms of explaining things that I pretty much just have to go through just literally everything. But the reason why I took a rocket to the face there is because I was blocking and then I dodged. So that's how I took that rocket without taking too much damage. I still take damage because it does do chip, which is unfortunate, but yeah. Also, I do know about shurikens, and I know that they can be effective, but I've never really found them to be too good in my repertoire or my, I'm trying to think of the word here, my arsenal of combat that I go for typically. I usually just try to wait out for specific red attacks. And something else, too, is whenever you do a UT, that typically also tends to sometimes make them enraged and go for a red attack as well. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind. You definitely don't want to mash triangle attacks because they'll pretty much just predict it almost, it seems. So this is the next group of enemies. These are the black robed alchemists. We're just going to call them the black mages or black alchemists. And these ones are a little less harder than the white robed ones. And they spawn like literally in day 1. And the trick with these guys is pretty much you just want to get away and just UT the entire time. This might be kind of boring for some people, and I do apologize for that. But the thing I'm going to be doing with this game most of the time is just doing UTs. And for this level specifically, especially this area specifically, as you can see, I'm essentially just running away and finding cover and then going for a charged UT. And if an enemy happens to get too close, that's when I let it go and just let them get cut. It takes about a good whopping like 3, 4, maybe 5 possible UTs. Just dual combos on them anyway just to kill them off. It's ridiculous how much damage they take. Something else you can do is whenever they put their arms in the ground to kind of charge up their magic attacks, you can press the triangle button to break them out of it. You can also press triangle whenever they happen to have the magic filter around their hands. And whenever they go for that red attack, you definitely want to dodge right before the last second of you getting grabbed, or at least some time between him lunging at you. And then whenever one finally loses a limb, that's when you go for a nice easy OT, get the nice, fine kill, and then go from there, and that should finish off the black robed alchemist. So once again, to kind of explain it a little better, essentially just run away, let them charge up, let them come to you, and then, charge up your UT, let it go, and let them, get killed by that. Also, underneath this car right here is a scarab. I will not be going for all 50 scarabs. In this part of the game, I do now have 45 out of 50. And once you have 45 scarabs, you have the unlocked ability of upgrading your health to level 5. So that's something you might want to kind of look into if you're interested in looking into health. And when it comes to health upgrades, I'm going to be upgrading on very specific times. So I'm not going to be upgrading willy-nilly. I'm going to be upgrading when I feel like I need to upgrade. For this section right here, I absolutely 100% recommend you go for the stealth kill. You go for the ghost kill, as it's called, because this part's very dangerous. If you get spotted, you will pretty much get shot down by rockets, and that's not something you really want to get shot down by. And dogs should spawn, unless I'm thinking of Ultimate Ninja Mode, because I did play a little bit of Ultimate Ninja Mode. It's a lot harder than I expected it to be, but it's definitely harder than Master Ninja Mode, I can tell you that. Master Ninja Mode is surprisingly as difficult as I want it to be, with just a nice little cherry on top as well later on, which we'll get into that, of course, once that comes into it, but the cherry on top being the scythe. So that's something I also want to talk about in a minute, but let's finish off the spider boss first. So there's a couple things you can do against a spider boss. If you get between these two legs, you could charge up a UT and let it launch, so that way you can do a decent bit of damage. One thing that you don't really want to go into, even though I do kind of do it myself, is I end up breaking off one piece of armor, and then a lot of the time, unless this is the wrong video I'm thinking of, typically the trick here, you know, obviously just use UTs to kind of just get some nice, you know, iframes. But you don't want to cut off the legs. That's the main thing. Unless you're like me and you're kind of silly like that, then you don't want to cut off the legs. But I just kind of gotten used to, you know, cutting off the legs and dealing with this electric barrier attack, because I feel like it's a little bit easier to deal with than the rocket thing. So as you can see what I'm doing with the electric barrier, if you happen to cut off a leg and you have to deal with, you know, of course that, then basically what I end up doing is I essentially just attack the legs from the front view, and pretty much like right there, like where I'm standing right now was the front view, and I pretty much just attack that. Whenever he launches electrical attack, I just kind of dodge backwards and then go back in for the head and try to manipulate it to, you know, consistently do the electric attack, because if you get too close underneath it, it will do electric attack. Now, something that you can do, and it's definitely a lot more important and a lot more recommended, is of course doing UTs and eventually Nimpo. Save your Nimpo for this boss fight too, as well. Make sure you save your Nimpo for like very specific moments in the game, because this game is very aggressive with when you're allowed to use Nimpo and when you're not, pretty much. Try not to use Nimpo on just random enemy hordes. Use it when you know for a fact that an enemy's coming. So it looks like I upgrade to Falcon. I upgrade level 1 blades, or at least I have level 1 blades. I get counter, and I think I get probably nothing else. No, I get the jump ability, and I think I might buy Guillotine Throw as well. So I get those. But yeah, make sure, one thing I recommend is not cutting off all the legs and just kind of just, you know, breaking all the armor pieces. And if you happen to accidentally grab onto a leg, just simply don't press any buttons, and then immediately after he lets go, then dodge out of the way, because you want to get out of there fast, because that rocket's going to come in hard. You can also tell when the spider bot's going to throw out a rocket too, just by looking at his face and kind of hearing the noise. So these are the next enemies. I don't know exactly what these guys are called. I think they're called Black Spider Ninjas. I believe so, yes. Yeah, these are the Black Spider Ninja Clan. They've been changed just a tad bit to kind of look more modernized in comparison to their traditional Black Ninja attire. And these guys are just a little bit more aggressive on Ultimate Ninja Mode, but on Master Ninja Mode, they're not too bad because they don't take too long to cut up. The thing I do with them is I tend to just try to make them... I try to manipulate the field into making them do Steel on Bone attacks. Well, I do Steel on Bone. But I try to manipulate them to doing red attacks. That's kind of pretty much the thing I'm trying to go for. So I continuously just dodge out of the way. I don't, you know, mess with them too much and just essentially just go for that. These rocket types, these ones are a lot more irritating and a lot more just hard to fight in general because they tend to block your attacks. And the way to kind of get around that is you can either just jump on top of them with that new jump ability I've gotten and kind of just, you know, knock them on their head. Or you can kind of just, you know, just go for just attacks. Just continue aggressive attacks, especially when they're alone, because they can't do anything when they're alone. They can only do things when they have, you know, their buddies on their team. And you see that corner that I just kind of ran past there? That's a good spot to kind of just hide into if you want to charge up a UT to get away from these first guys. Basically, the area that you came from to get in that little section, you can run back there and then charge up a UT and have some cover from the first rocket guy. But there's no protection from the other one. You're pretty much just going to have to just either, you know, Steel on Bone all the other enemies and just hope that the rockets don't hit you, or just go straight for the rocket guys and try to get that quote-unquote non-Izuna drop. Basically, let's just call it an uppercut attack. And yeah. So coming into this area, there's going to be ghosts. Ghosts are quite fun to fight in general because they have this thing where even though they turn invisible, you can still, for the most part, see them. If you have a bow at this point, which, I mean, you don't in this point, but once you get the bow, you can aim in with it with L2, and then you can actually spot them, which is pretty cool. But the thing that I do is I use the camera to my advantage, and I charge a UT. I run as far away from them as I possibly can. I charge a UT, and then immediately after, the camera will, you know, shift. And once I see that camera shift, that's when I let go of my UT and let it just kind of wail on them and take them out. So the reason why I'm doing the Crystal Skull Challenge is I'm pretty much just getting Nimpo. You don't lose health in this fight. You pretty much gain all your health back after you either complete it or you happen to die. If you want to complete it, that's fine. If you want to get more karma points, that's absolutely fine. I recommend doing the crystal challenges as much as you can, even if you die. It doesn't matter if you die or not. I recommend doing them. And plus, this is good training for like later on fights. Because as you can see right now, we're fighting fiends and we're also fighting the homunculus, the gorilla versions of them. I believe that's what they are called, but... no, I think these ones are... give me 1 second here. This one's called a Megacelion, I guess. So, the big gorilla-type enemies are called Megacelions, I believe. Also, fun thing about Bloody Rage is... to get it to kind of activate, it's a little bit tricky sometimes, but you pretty much have to start off a Steel on Bone, and to continue to gain even more of that combo to get into the Bloody Rage. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know exactly every specific about Bloody Rage and how to get it to activate all the time, but the thing that I've learned the most is OTs kind of keep it going, and not only do OTs work just as well, but there's also, whenever you do the bow shots with the explosive shot on it, it tends to kind of keep it going as well as, keeps the combo going up too. So that's something else to keep in mind once we get to like Chapter 2, which Chapter 2 is kind of fun. I say Chapter 2, but it's just going to be called like Day 2, I believe. So, coming into the next section here, we're going to be dealing with another group of alchemists. Actually, no, before we do that, we're going to go into the Splatterhouse room, as I call it, because that's the room that it reminds me of for some reason. So, upon entering this room, you're going to be fighting ghosts. And these guys, of course, you know, they usually die in 1 UT, which is very nice. And it's also kind of nice whenever you get a nice UT on them, and you end up actually getting to the point where you just wipe out an entire field of them. And also, save your Nimpo for later. And in terms of Flying Swallow, I recommend just using Flying Swallow mostly on just basic regular soldier enemies. Pretty much just the regular white run-of-the-mill ones that have like the baton, like the one like baton thing. And so this next part, so after you exit the door, if you haven't died on this part, you'll be greeted with the first alchemist, and he'll try to attack you, and then I think you can do possibly Steel on Bone, but I'm not sure. I ended up dying, as you can see. And once I ended up dying, I had to pretty much just do this entire thing practically all over. And what ended up happening was I had to, you know, dodge to the right because the first one spawns to your left. And then immediately after that, it's charged UT. Actually, hang on real quick. I talked so fast that I actually started choking on my own spit, so sorry about that. Anyway, so after you exit the door, if you have died previously, then you could just jump straight to the right, charge up a UT, and then attack the guy on the left. And the thing about these fun little areas with the alchemists is what makes them fun to fight is the fact that you can end up trying to find specific cover points. Like up here, for instance, is a nice, decent cover point to kind of when you're going from down there, when you come up here, when they're all three like down there and you come up here, that's a good spot to kind of just hide up into and start charging a UT. You always want to kind of just do that if you want to be on the safe side for UT charges. Next up is Theodore. That's what we're going to call him. So this one's pretty fun. This guy's very specific with his attacks. So as you can see, I'm going to point out each attack. I'm going to tell you exactly what I do pretty much. So that uppercut attack into that side swipe. So I'm trying to bait him into doing that, so that way he can do the third attack, which is a slam attack, and then after that, you're free to just hit him as much as you possibly can. At least 2 to 3 times. I say as much, but you can't do it as much. You can only do it like a few times. So you pretty much want to like dodge back and forth and kind of just bait him into doing very specific attacks. So this first regular run-of-the-mill side swipe attack, this regular attack, after the second hit, dodge back, go back in for another square hit, and go for at least 2 hits, if not 1 hit. Now, I did die multiple times, and then if you do happen to die like I do, then he's going to start off with a red grab attack. Instantly dodge out of the way. Now, this is when he's going to start doing the slam attack, and this is, of course, also when I get my first health upgrade. If you wish to get it here, that's fine. You don't have to. If you're better at fighting Theodore than I am, that's great. Something else, too, is counterattacks do kind of work, but you do take damage while doing it, so be careful of that. But in the second fight, I'm basically trying to bait him into doing that slam attack. And all these other attacks are just kind of just willy-nilly, just I'm getting hit by stupid things. The thing that you want to go for absolutely for sure is you definitely want to go for that attack right there, that little, you know, spin in the air slam attack, because that's the one you want to look out for. And then after that, you just want to go for like 3 hits. You don't want to get too greedy, because if you get too greedy, he will kill you, and that's a problem. So anyway, guys, that's the end of day 1. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time for some more Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. So as always, take care, everybody.